Prior to this experience, I was essentially an agnostic. However, religion piqued my interest, so I attempted to read the Bible, but I couldn't understand it. I can say that I had no concerns about hell or heaven and was able to enjoy life to its fullest. I grew up to be a positive person since the variables that influenced me as a child tended to be positive and nice rather than negative and bad. This is my personal viewpoint. In February 1990, I attended a public party where I consumed a large amount of alcohol. There was some difficulty during the party, so officials contacted the cops for assistance. Two police officers escorted me out of the party and into the building where they requested me to take the sign off my jacket. Havel for president, it said. He later became president. This was immediately following the Velvet Revolution in the Czech Socialist Republic, when every police officer was required to be a communist. The situation was ambiguous at the moment, for both revolutionaries and police. Our debate was pretty difficult. However, I've been a hero. I was contemplating something. It's no surprise that I was supposed to be removing the sign. They decided to remove it by force, which sparked the brawl. An inebriated man without firearms has no chance against two cops using truncheons, or billy clubs. I was pounded repeatedly, the last blow hitting on my skull, probably, I'm not sure. I don't recall much because I was inebriated. I do recall falling down. I kept lying there on the freezing ground, thinking to myself that this was the end of me. I overheard one of the cops say to the other, "You killed him." I lay there for a while, till I observed this sleepy, inebriated man sleeping alone on the grass. Why is he sleeping there? I wondered. He might become paralyzed. I'd best wake him up or get him inside and away from the freezing grass. I need to act quickly before something bad occurs to him. That's unusual, I thought, as I scrutinized his features to see if I could recognize him. This dude is wearing my shoes and clothing, and he has the same hair as myself. It took me a while to realize that the man was me. It was the first time I'd seen myself from afar. It was a surprise. Then I realized I had no idea how to go back into my body, so I decided to seek assistance from someone. My wife? I was home pretty immediately after getting the idea to go home. My children were sleeping in their respective rooms, and my wife was reading in the bedroom. When I entered the bedroom, she jerked and moved her head in my way, attempting to figure out what she had felt. But she couldn't see or hear me, so I decided to go back and retrieve my corpse. My body was still alone in the same position when I returned. Suddenly, I felt liberated and at ease. My terror was gone, and I felt fully normal. Soon after, I noticed a small brilliant spot above me that seemed to urge me to approach it. After a while, I felt myself being drawn into the light, and my progress towards it accelerated. I was traveling, slowly at first, then my speed grew until I was flying along. I believed I was going to die because the speed was so fast, and I felt like I was flying to the edge of space. I was moving so quickly that all the items passing by gave me the sensation of a tunnel in my thoughts. During my flight, I had a unique knowledge experience since anytime I asked a question, I received an immediate, non-verbal response. When I arrived at the bright light, I was instantly surrounded by it and became a part of it. I was overcome by an overwhelming sense of affection. I became aware of a being that was a component of the light and was talking with me non-verbally. There were no secrets throughout our conversation because the entity knew all of my secrets. In reality, he was aware of everything I'd ever done. This is not a place where lies exist. The creature knew everything about my life from the time I was born until that moment, every second, and everything I'd been thinking during that period. Suddenly, a panoramic view of my existence arrived. We both watched it and discussed it non-verbally. It was weird for me to observe myself as a distinct individual. So, Whenever the other person, or myself, did something awful during the panorama, I immediately thought, that person was nasty or unattractive, and so on. Making these judgments about myself felt quite painful. I was crying a lot because I felt the impact of the words I'd said and acts I'd done to other people in the past. Fortunately, the creature was lavishing me with affection. After the panorama, I was advised that I needed to return because I needed to accomplish more on Earth. Why do I have to go back when I'm feeling so wonderful? I began crying again. I don't want to return to that filthy world. This place is so beautiful. It had no effect. The creature showed me images from my future to persuade me that I needed to return for crucial reasons. I had no idea how long I'd been there because there was no time. It may have been 1 hour or 10 years. Then I found myself above my body, which was being treated by an emergency physician. I was suddenly back inside my body, back to reality after 2 or 3 sneezes. They undoubtedly would have brought me to the hospital, but I rose up and went away. I awoke the next morning with a heavy head and an odd dream in my head. I found it unusual that my spirits had not been drunk. I could remember everything from the time I was in my spirit, but nothing from the time I was in my inebriated body. My life had returned to normality 2 or 3 years following my encounter. I had virtually forgotten about the dream, until one day when I opened a small magazine in which few phrases from the new edition of Raymond Moody's book were printed. I realized right away that the dream had not been a dream. All of the love and the entire event reappeared in my conscious thoughts at that point. I was astounded. I had a strong sense of the invisible presence of someone who was full of love. I began to cry and asked, "What do you want from me? Please tell me what I need to do to become as lovely as you." No response. But soon after, I felt compelled to open the Bible and begin reading. And almost immediately, everything made plain to me. That was the turning point in my life. Since then, I've tried to be as helpful as possible, to be an example of love, and to make everyone happy. However, it was too taxing on my body, and I suffered an infraction in October 2012. I tried to tell my wife about it 5 years later, but she seemed uninterested. My children are aware of it. I believe they're living in a more spiritual environment than I was at their age. Some folks are relieved to hear the news. I hope they're positively inspired. Some folks think I'm a moron. People who've led dishonest lives, for the most part, do not want to hear about it. When they have to listen to my story, they become quite fidgety. I don't mind. They should be aware of it anyway. Every day, if I need to make a choice, I can fare with the persons concerned. Before I make any final decisions, at home or at work, I always attempt to weigh the benefits and drawbacks. What will go well and what will go wrong? If it appears to be good, I consider how many others will be impacted, how many people will be pleased, and how many will be disappointed. The majority must always be happy. Even if 1 or 2 of my friends or relatives are dissatisfied, this is my top priority. I no longer have the strength to continue my Spartan lifestyle because I need to start thinking about self-care. But how can I change my mind when I know the path leads to the bright light, where all misgivings about love fade away? I know I have nothing to worry from death or returning. It will be wonderful to see the bright being, who is so full of love, again at the same place. Even though I have a wonderful home for my wife and 3 children, 2 grandchildren, and a prosperous life, my true home is there. It is impossible to forget. Every day, I think about it.